Satnam Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the live stream. And if you could put your name and where you're logging in from, and yeah, and your astro details, human design too, if you know it. And if you don't, you can just go down to the information box and get your free chart. Okay. Wowza, what a week, eh? I feel like there's been so much change and shifts and energy that I was saying to someone today, it's like we need time to recalibrate. Do you know what I mean? And to adjust to this new energy. And I'll probably do something on Pluto that's moved into Aquarius, but right with the human design system, it's still in that Pluto is still in this in 60, right? It hasn't fully moved in. Like you can see, I'll talk about this in probably my next video, but it's part Capricorn and then part Aquarius. That's 60, right? There's Pluto down there. It's still 60.4. So it's kind of half and half according to human design, which makes sense, right? It makes a lot of sense. But still, there's a shift in energy. There's no denying that. Okay. So Mars went into Cancer today. And what does that mean? It's been in Gemini since October, right? Around Halloween of last year. So it's been there a long time. It's going to motor through Cancer. So it came in today and it's leaving on May 30th. So we have 2 months of it. What really piqued my interest was it's in Cancer, right? So it's all about the emotions. So it's going to be a very emotional time these next 2 months. Okay, so where do we want to start here? So it's 15.2. There's Mars right there. This is the chart, the transit chart, according to the human design, at the exact time that Mars went into Cancer. So again, you can see, right, it's 15.2. It's not 15.1 because there's a little bit of overlap. So there's the Cancer gates, right? So all the planets are moving around this mandala. And Pluto comes into the 41st. Like that's going to be a huge deal next year. And that's the start codon. That's the beginning of a whole new cycle, right, of experience after 248 years Pluto takes to spin around the sun. Okay, so there's the Cancer. See, there's the zodiac sign in Cancer. So all of these fall under Cancer. So you got your zodiac sign, but then you can really focus in on these shadow patterns and gifts and cities, right? So you got the 15, that's what it's in today, right? And then the 52, the 39, the 53, and the 62, and a little tiny bit in the 56. So this is the shadow of dullness, is the 15. And these are the fears that I just quickly keynoted. So it's the fear of ordinariness, fear of boredom. This is the ego, right? That's the fear. Life's just too boring. For me, it's too ordinary. Then 52 is stress, the shadow of stress, the fear of timing of things. 39, provocation, right? The shadow of provocation. The fear is feeling trapped. And just as a side note, this is the sun sign for the USA chart. It's 39. Fear of feeling trapped, being trapped. And then the 53 is immaturity. This is the fear of restlessness and completing anything. And then the 62 is the intellect, the fear of not using my mind. What will happen if I don't use my mind to figure it all out, right? So Mars is going to be motoring through these for 2 months and hitting on these. So just a reminder that we're leaving an epoch that started in 1615, the cross of planning. 1615 ends in 2027, and we have a whole new epoch. This is the whole new frequency that motivates humanity, right? It's all going on unconscious into this new motivation, which will be the cross of the sleeping phoenix. And this is the new awareness system that's gestating. This is our solar plexus mutation. And this is we're moving into spirit awareness, right? So the pathway of awareness we're moving through now is the physical. We're seeing the physical breaking down. Pluto in Aquarius is really going to show us that in these next 20 years. The physical is breaking down, right? For good reason. So it can be rebuilt. And then so we're moving, being just aware of our physicality in the material world and our five senses, to the mental, our mind, to the emotional, and then we're moving back into the frequency. So we're evolving through that emotional body right now. So this is why Mars in Cancer is really an important time, an important 2 months that you can do a lot of work, right? So we're doing that. And then moving into spirit awareness to the other side. So we have to leave behind this ego and mind right behind as we do this deep, deep work. And on the other side of this is what you're looking for. It's what everybody's looking for, but they don't know it. And it's spirit awareness. And is it something outside you? No, it's inside you, this emotional body. I've just given it a form so that it helps to have a visual for it. And so what's this ego that we have to let go of? This is the not self, right? So it's all about being your authentic self in the cross of the sleeping phoenix. Nothing else will do. You have to be your authentic self. If you try to be a fake, Miss Fakery, Mr. Fakery, that the universe will not allow that. The mask is going to be ripped off your face, and that means everything that you identify, that fakery, right? That's identified and attached to this, of trying to uphold this facade, you know, like in movie sets, the old westerns and stuff. They just had a facade. It wasn't a real building. It was just this image. It looked like a building. It looked like a saloon, right? But it really wasn't. It was just be taken down, right? This is what's happening to us. All that stuff. The facade is being taken down for the Aquarian age, for the sleeping phoenix. So you have to be your authentic self. Is this your authentic self? No, that ego is not your authentic self. This is the not self. This is what pulls you out of your authenticity. This is your superpower. This is what you can count on, not your mind and your ego for this new time. So it's the voice in your head. I've just given it a form, right, with worm tongue, so you understand, right, that this commentary and all this advice and, you know, and the judgment and the opinions and all of that, that's not me, right? And it came in strong when you were 7 years old, because the 0 to 7 is when our emotional body developed, and then the mental 7 to 14, and then the 14 to 21 was the physical, right? So it came in strong at 7. So we really believe that it's us, right? So this ego will do anything to keep you away from your true power, your authenticity, and it keeps you in an illusion of separation. This is your false self. If I were to say, if we could solve one problem in the world, it would be this ego, right? This ego has to go. This would just solve everything, right? Everything in a snap is to realize humanity, to realize that voice in your head isn't you. And we don't need it. So don't listen to that New Age teachings that, you need a healthy ego. You need your ego. No, you do not need your ego. Your ego needs you to survive, but you don't need your ego. You can be in these other states of consciousness, right? This is about coming into the eternal now. The ego doesn't live in the eternal now. He's bored. Right? That's this 15. I'm bored. This is too boring. It's ordinary. I need drama because I need to be fed, right? I need attention. So, what else did I want to say about this Cancer? Because I want to get right into the signs. So if you know your sun, I haven't done it all zodiac signs in a while, so felt called to do that. I know what I wanted to say. The beauty of this time, because it's Mars in Cancer, right? And Cancer's like deep, deep emotions. It's about the past. It's about this. You as a little tiny tot. This is where everything got stuck, right? Emotionally. Remember, emotions are about movement. It's energy and motion. So what happens from 0 to 7 years old is that things happen to us. We have experiences where those emotions don't flow anymore. This is when we took on this false self, right? So these stuck emotions are connected to this false identity, that are connected to this ego. You can't just get rid of the ego by seeing it. Oh, I see it. It won't go away. It keeps coming back because it's fueled by these stuck emotions, So both of them, they'll disappear when you feel those stuck emotions, and then you see and witness in the light of awareness, right? That false identity. Okay, I know what I wanted to say. So we've got Mars, right? And Mars is the ruler of Aries, of all the zodiac sign. That's the one that represents the ego, is Mars in Aries, right? And then we've got the emotions. So we've got them right there. So these 2 months are going to show you where this ego has been sneaky in the shadows, right? Motivating your behavior and your reactions and all your conflict in life and self-sabotaging and all the trickery, right, to keep you out of your power. Well, you're going to feel it. It's right. The ego's going to come out of the shadows just by your reactions, right? So what I said in my newsletter is, if you've been doing your shadow work and your inner child work, and you did the Phoenix program, and you're going to maybe do it again, if you have done it once isn't enough, then you're going to thrive through this time, right? And it will be like polishing up, right? Polishing up. You'll be able to see where the ego is still hiding with you. So this is a really great time, right, for the spiritual people, like, committed on their journey. But people are going to get emotional around you, so just beware, right? Like, hold your center. So if you're not feeling it, it's like, Michael, I'm not really feeling emotional these days. Well, you're going to start to, because it just went in today, right? Mars just went into Cancer today. It's been in Gemini. It's all been about the mind, and now it's coming into water. It's coming into the emotions. Well, come back, because I've got my primo meditation, and it's all free. And I put the link below, and it's childhood anger. It's a Kundalini yoga meditation to release childhood anger, and it's so powerful. So just remember that. Okay? Oh, I'm feeling really emotional. I remembered Michael Neutrino said, childhood anger, I'm going to do it, right? So you go to the link, and then you'll find it on my website, and it's all free. And it's really, really powerful. It gets at the energy that gets trapped here. This is the childhood anger. That's why the teeth grinding and stuff, or people with tight jaws, they're holding a lot of childhood anger. And that is what's keeping you, right? The childhood anger is there in the emotional body. So you want to go anger, fear, grief. Those are the layer cake, and then you get through into spirit awareness. Okay, so this is an opportune time. That's what I'm trying to say. So let's start with doing some signs here of how this is going to affect you. So this is going to give you a focal point of, this is where it's happening in my life. So it's according to your chart, like your Western astrology chart. So you want your rising sign, that's number 1, moon, and then your sun sign. So listen to all 3, and listen to the people in your life too, if you know their zodiac signs, and then you'll be able to have more compassion for them, right? Maybe guide them a little bit too, especially if you're a projector, if you're invited, right, as a projector. Okay, so I just want to look at some comments, and then we'll dive into it. Margs me, Satnam. Oh, I love that little puppy, little Cocker Spaniel, eh? Tammy, Satnam, and George, Satnam. Yeah. Feeling something big inside. Yes. Yes. We've been waiting for this time, you guys. This is our time. Like I said to someone the other day, I said, we're on the balcony seat, right? Watching the show. Teresa Satnam, New York marks me. Jen from Vancouver Island, Satnam. Yeah, it was an intense week for me too. Very tired, like really, really tired for no reason that my mind could make up. But I knew there was, right, that, like I said, it's the integration and recalibration of all this energy. Jennifer Satnam, adjusting naps. Especially if you're a projector in the human design type, you need to get good with naps. Teresa, Thomas Satnam from Chicago. Eva Satnam and Jennifer. Larissa, awesome. Projector Cancer, you're going to really feel it. Yeah. Yeah, the visual of the facade, right? It's changing, including the facade that we've put up, right? And we got to laugh at it, right? This false self that we have to let go of. And it's going to be really clear, like, especially if you're Pisces rising or you have Pisces, right? You're not going to put up with this any longer of like trying to be the people pleaser and, you know, you have to be yourself. You have to be yourself. Sleeping all the time. Yeah. So it's about a trust, Jen, in the energy. Sometimes the energy is there, and it will, right? Mars will definitely activate energy, physical vitality, because it rules that too. But it's just trusting when it's not there. It's not there. You're not supposed to be doing something like forcing yourself to do something because you'll exhaust yourself. This ego is getting neutered, right? This ego is getting neutered. In the Piscean age, the ego ruled, right? Could destroy. It was all about destruction and separation, and then people will get their power that way. It's not going to work anymore. It's all about union and joining with others. Aquarius, right? It's the collective. It's the public of joining together as your individual authentic self, right? Else it's just going to be more group ego. That's the shadow frequency of Aquarius. Okay, and Arizona, yeah, nap attacks out of the blue. That's right. You got to get good with the naps. Sometimes it's only 10 minutes. That's all I need is a 10-minute power nap. Like the other day I had work to do, and I'm on my computer and I'm all ready to go, and then suddenly it was like somebody put chloroform on my face or something. I just got so sleepy, right? And my mind is like, you've got so much work to do. When are you going to do it? And it's like, no, I need to trust. And so what did I do? I just went on the couch and just relaxed and read. I'm a projector, so reading's really relaxing for me is to read. So I read a little bit and then came back to the computer, and then the energy was there. So it's about a moment by moment thing right now. It's trusting the energy moment by moment by moment. It's not about planning. It's all about strategy, right? Figuring things out. And I got my 5-year plan, and I've got every little minute of my day. No, it's not going to be supported, right? The mind and the ego are not going to be supported in that way anymore. It's moment by moment. So this is what we have to really this is the new way of being, right? For the Aquarian age, is being in the now and trusting, just completely trusting in your energy. Okay. So where do we want to start here? With, let me see, yeah. Okay. So Mars is about ego, it's about frustration, it's about resentment, it's about anger. But it's coming from the past, right? The moon is all about the past. So we can use that energy to drive our soul purpose, right? Rather than inflate or defend your ego identity. So it's about how you use that energy. So you don't want to be wasting it, right? Inflating the ego, your ego identity, your false self. So the positive, just to reiterate, is about we get to see it, right? We get to see it because we get to feel it. So it makes itself known. So if you have that strong reaction to someone, I've got to defend myself, or I get irritable and I'm angry and I'm snappy at that person, that's like, oh, that's my ego. My ego's coming out to be seen, right? So let's start with Leo. Let me get my the signs up here. I want to take my time here. Okay. So Leo rising, sun or moon, right there, Leo. This is probably the one of the most challenging ones. So Leo and Mars, right? Leo, Mars is transiting the 12th house, right, until May 20th, starting today. And so the ego attachment or the identification is with being seen and recognized, right? So this can be a difficult transit because every time the ego will try to assert itself, right, the 12th energy, it's ruled by Neptune, right? It's just gonna try to bury it. It will just try to, it won't try, it will bury it. So it can bring up a lot of frustration and anger with the ego. Like nobody can see me, nobody's paying attention to me, nobody's giving me any credit, right? Because the ego always needs attention. Think of a narcissist, right? You're full-on narcissist. That's going to give you a lot of information how the ego works because it's so visible, right? It's like it's wholly on the other spectrum of ego. So a lot of people can kind of hide their egos, but narcissists can't. When they need credit, right? They need credit. They need to be seen. If they're not seen, they take over conversations, right? Things like that. It's all about look at me, look at me, look at me, feed me, feed me, feed me, feed me, right? So 12th house energy is hidden. So it's calling for you during this time to work in the background, right? It's like you do your work in the background, kind of behind the scenes. Don't be trying to feed this ego, right? So there are repressed feelings of anger, fear, grief that are going to surface during this transit for you, Leo, right? So it's all about your past. The moon has to do with your past. It has to do with your family of origin. It has to do with your mother. And things are going to come up that you didn't even know were there that have been driving you. So the more you try to assert your ego, the more it's going to be slapped down by the unconscious 12th house energy. So the more you try, the more resistance you're going to get. The more you try to get attention, the less you will get attention, right? So don't expect that in these 2 months. And this is going to undermine your own efforts, right? Because you're just wasting your energy. And so it's also the house of hidden enemies. So the people, right, who feel alienated by you, maybe you're out there, Leo, trying to get your attention with someone, like the ego's trying to get its attention, and then people are feeling alienated, but they won't tell you why. Well, they work behind the scenes to block you, basically. Right? This is why it's the house of hidden enemies. So the medicine, and it's also going to affect your energy level, right? Because it's Mars in the 12th house. So the 12th house dilutes the energy. Mars is assertive, and I've got vitality and go, 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 third chakra, and it's just going to dilute. So you got to get good with napping. Leo, you got to get good with napping, and you got to get good with just relaxing and just working behind the scenes, not letting your ego take over, and not getting upset if you're not getting attention, or you're not getting likes and things on your social media, or you're not getting feedback from other people. Just let that go, right? Because what it's doing, it's dissolving the ego, right, in the 12th house. So the medicine is you become more aware of yourself and your ego's need for validation, credit, and to be seen. So you watch it, right? You observe your ego, you observe your mind, and you do this with practice. And that's why sadness is so important, to do your meditation every day, because you get to see your ego and your mind, right? It creates that gap. Oh, I'm able to see my ego needing attention, needing to get credit in this conversation now, but I'm not going to act on it, right? It's your choice whether you act on it or not. And it's an old identity, right? So if you go back to your past, maybe you weren't valued, right? You weren't seen as a child. You were neglected as a child. Well, it will bring up all that stuff to be healed, right? So you just feel it. You just feel it. It will bring frustration up. Feel frustration. Or sadness, feel the sadness, right? So it's about not confronting others. Like, why don't you give me credit? Why don't you pay attention to me? It's don't go there. Just confront yourself. Confront your own ego instead, and work alone as much as possible. And also with your work, if you're not able to do that, maybe you work with other people, then go into help and service, right? Serving other people, karma yoga, volunteering, maybe in the workplace doing some extra kind things for people, right? This will help with this energy with Mars in the 12th house. And it's about really this time, the 2 years, it's about getting the ego out of your way, right? So your this identity can dissolve, right? And then what you're doing is you're preparing whatever, maybe you're working on a project, like I'm working on a project now. Well, this is the time that you're behind the scenes and you're working, tinkering behind the scenes. And then when Mars comes into Leo in June, that's when it's launched, right? So it's a time for research too with Leos. Okay, so I just want to do an ego card for Leo. I love these systems, right? These ancient systems. Well, human design isn't that ancient, but astrology, because it shows us how to work with this energy. Okay. And the ego does not like that being hidden away. It wants to be, and Leo too likes to be in the limelight. It's going to be a challenging time. But this too shall pass. Okay. Let's see what we got for Leo. These are my ego cards. You see that? Worm tongue. Look at this. And we'll see what we got for Leo. Can bring up dreams too. I forgot to say that. Like violent dreams. Where's that coming from? Well, it's coming from your past life, Leo, to be cleared up. Okay, so what do we have? What's the ego saying to Leo? This one right here. Okay. So it's the Judgment card. Okay, so that's all the ego is judging. So right away, it's about not judging yourself, right? Because the mind if you let the mind and the ego go during this time, it could be like, I'm disappearing, I'm dying, and it can feel like a real death. But it's the ego that's dying, right? It's the ego that's dying. So there could be the judging yourself. That's what I really see. More than judging others, it's the judgment. All judgment is actually self-judgment, right? So to look at that, and this could be coming from your past too, especially if you're a child that had to justify your existence, by working a lot. And there's an identity about with worker, like I'm a hard worker, I'm a responsible worker. Leos are like that. Then suddenly they don't have the energy to work. Well, all that crap's going to come up from your childhood. So not to let your mind go in there and judge. There's something wrong with me. I better go to a doctor. Like tune in if it's a serious health issue. But if it's just a shift in energy, then it's astrology, right? So don't attach to the judgments. Just let them come up, right? It's the past is coming up to be cleared, Leo, so that you can move forward. Mars coming into the first house. That's a whole new cycle for you, right? That's coming. So no judgment, and the opposite of judgment is acceptance. I'm just accepting the energy right now, and the energy is telling me to rest, and I'm going to love myself through this storm, right? Because the storm of the mind and the ego will come up, all that stuff that will come up from your childhood, right? But it's about loving yourself, like holding yourself and letting the storm pass. And it will pass. Yeah. And feelings too, if you're feeling insecure, right? Feeling insecure, feeling sad, not to judge it. Don't attach a story to it. Just feel it and let it pass. Okay. Okay, that's what I've got for Leo. It's an exciting time for you, Leos. And who shall we go to next? Maybe we'll go backwards. We'll go to Cancer, because Cancer... So let me get my... Cancer. It's Cancer's show. They're the star of the show because Mars is in their sign now. Okay. So Mars in Cancer, that's in the first house. So the ego identification, attachment's going to be to your body, to your appearance, to your beauty, right? It's not so much about your health with the first house. It's all about your appearance. So to watch this and talk about judgment, right? Judging your body and your appearance. So this can be like in the mundane way. It's going to be a time of great activity where you're working hard at your own thing. So you're able to assert yourself really easy during this transit with other people. And then you'll be able to show the world what you can really do. It's about showing up as you. And so you can make a great impression on other people now. But if you're insensitive to other people, like you're just trampling all over them, which is unusual for a Cancer, right? This can be a difficult time in all of your relationships. But the other great thing is with Cancer, because they're more emotionally insecure of all the signs, right, is that they're able to assert themselves more during this time. So, but you have to watch this ego, right? This ego will want my way or the highway, and it won't want to bend a little in the demands and needs of others, especially if you've been a doormat. Maybe you've been a doormat for... Right, because you've got you had Capricorn on the other side, Pluto and Capricorn on the other side. That's all your relationships, and that would be walked over, right, as a Cancer. So then you got the little bit of ego power, and you have to watch it that it just doesn't take over, and it's like my way or the highway because I've been the doormat. And you swing in the pendulum, right, to watch that. You still need to compromise, but you're going to be doing it in a healthy way, right, during this transit, learning. To work, to really be in relationship, right? So it's the balancing your needs with the needs of other people, right? And you do that with feeling. Like this is what I keep telling people. We have to go to felt perception now. We can't think our way through life. And my feelings, especially as a Cancer, right? I'm going to trust my feelings and how I feel right now. If my solar plexus is quivering, what is that about? Oh, my boundaries have been overstepped. I haven't been asserting myself more. I'm feeling guilty, a little guilty. Oh, I think I overstepped on somebody else's boundaries, right? So we're learning about frequency. So right now, the medicine with Mars and Cancer, it's best if you worked independently without worrying about how your actions will affect others, because they'll be impacted by you. So if you can do that, like work more independently, and you'll be more dominant than usual, but you won't be interested in overpowering other people, right, as a general rule, unless they try to overpower you, right? So you'll be happy if you're free to just do whatever you want to be doing during these 2 months. You're going to have a lot of energy, right? So you'll be more feisty and fighting for your own rights more than usual. You may be even surprising yourself a little bit, right? But you're only going to fight someone if they attack you first, right? So this is the lesson, right, about standing up for yourself in a healthy way. So physical energy is going to be high, and you'll be able to get a lot done during this transit. So it's the first house, right? And Mars can bring accidents, burns, things like that, rules, tools, and right. So you have to be aware of that, and that means just staying grounded, right? And it's the 15 during this time. Go back to human design. The 15, it's the shadow of dullness, it's the gift of magnetism, and it's the city of flowering. It's about our awakening, but it's about slowing down. The 15 is about slowing down and being aligned with the Schumann resonance. That's the heartbeat of the planet, right? And this makes you more magnetic, right? So the doing gets done, right? Through your non-doing, if that makes sense, right? It's like you're letting that energy move you, right? You're not moving the energy's moving you. That's magnetism, right? Magnetism for the Cancer. Yeah. So let's do a card for Cancer in the first house, and watching your ego identification with the body. So the 15, right? The earlier part of Mars in Cancer. It's you become more attractive when you slow down because you become more magnetic. It has nothing to do with makeup and physical. You're more attractive. People are more attracted to you when you slow down, and you're more connected to nature. I had another thought about that. I can't remember. Let's do the card and it will come to me, I think. For Cancer, rising, moon or sun. Just you're going to be busy, but be present, right? In the busyness. The 15. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. It's about the beauty thing, right? It's about enjoying just being in your body. Right? Grateful that you even have a body. They say the angels are jealous of the humans because we have a body. We have a physical body. They don't. Okay. So what's the ego telling Cancer, our Cancer friends? That one right there. Okay. The I don't understand card. So this is letting go of the ego and the pressure, the mental pressure of trying to understand what's going on in your life, especially when intense emotions are coming up, right? Because it's your first house, right? It's your body. You're going to feel those intense emotions. And I'm just getting the sense, too, that you'll be attracting. People will be attracted to you now. And it's, which will bring up intense emotions. So karmic, right? So karmic connections, spiritual connections to not go into the mind, right? I need to understand this. It's like, no, just feel whatever comes up for you. These intense emotions. Because it's giving you the, that power. Because you've got, you just had, you just have Pluto moved out of your 7th house. So you've had very Plutonian people in your life for since 2008, that have been putting you through the ringer, so that you could be a little bit gun shy, right, in terms of relationships, like having your dukes up, right? Well, who's this one coming at me, right? That's going to put me through the ringer again. It's just Mars is saying to let go, because you're becoming more your defense patterns or your defense mask, right? Because Cancers love to hide in their little shell, is coming off so that you can feel confident, right, to be in the world. But this is not going to help, right? This is not going to help you understand. That's what this card is saying. Yeah. Because this can create anxiety, you know, with the mind is I'm trying to understand what this person's all about, and they're bringing up such intense energy for me. What is it? What is it? What is it? What do I have to do? I need a strategy. It's like, don't listen. Don't listen to the ego. It's going to show you, right, how this ego has been driving you to hide in the world, Cancer. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And what I do too when I don't understand something, when I'm in this energy of the ego, is I just quietly ask a question. But I'm not asking the question to my mind and the ego. I'm asking the question to my soul. And then what happens is the answer comes through the experience. And some experience I'll have in my life, and then the answer comes through that way. It doesn't come through a mental way. A logical mental way. Okay. So that's great. That's great for Cancer. Okay, so we'll go to Gemini. We're going backwards here. Gemini, rising, moon or sun. So Gemini, it's in the second house. So the ego attachment is with your stuff, right? With your money and what you value. So there can be past issues around value. So if you go back to childhood, Gemini, right? Back to the pathway of awareness here. This is where all the work is, the 0 to 7-year-old. There could be issues around feeling worthless, but you buried them. And then you overcompensate for them, and up they're coming. They're coming now in this next 2 months with Mars and Cancer. Okay? So it's going to show you where you're identified with your stuff and your money and what you value. So you want to dig out your values, what you value. And go to beliefs, right? Well, I believe I'm a valuable person if I have a lot of money in my bank account, right? It's a sign of my personal self-worth. So you conflate it, your self-worth with money, right? So this is something that may come up for you. And what the universe does, it takes that stuff away, right? You experience some kind of loss so that you can really go to your deeper self-worth, that it's not attached. That's the ego's version of self-worth. But what it's really doing, it's burying, right? It's burying those deeper emotions, stuck emotions from childhood where you didn't feel like you had value. So if you don't have a lot of stuff, maybe you don't have a lot of stuff, right? It can bring up feelings of worthlessness. Maybe you've been okay with that, but now it's like, oh, all these feelings are coming up from my past, right? So that you can integrate them. So the ego, right? If they let the ego take over, then maybe you'll get into arguments with others when you feel like you're being perceived as I'm being judged because I don't have a lot. Or that I have no worth. That person's judging me because I have no worth. And remember, all judgment out here is really your own self-judgment. And here you're siding with your ego, right? If you believe that, well, I have no self-worth because I don't have nice things. I don't have money in my bank account. I live from hand to mouth. Well, right there, you're siding with your ego. And what's the ego see you as? A material object. I'm a material object. I have no value because I don't have these material things. Right? And you're much greater than that. You're a spiritual being having a human experience. You're a spirit. You're not a material object. So during this time, you may get into fights about money or property. And this can lead to alienation from others. And remember, what's fueling? You have to go to the ego. What's fueling these fights and conflict? What's this really about? So your desire to have money and possessions will be strong during this time to overcompensate for these feelings of not feeling you have any worth, right? This is that's the root. So, right, so you got to watch this, like making impulsive purchases. Like, who really wants this? Is it to gratify my ego? Why am I buying this? Why am I on Amazon? Why do I have all this stuff in the cart right now? Like, what's this about? Right? And then you ask yourself, are your purchases aligned with your values? Right? So what we spend our money on will show us very clearly what we value. If you look at your credit card statement and your debit statement, it's like, oh, it will show you what you value. So this transit can bring up wasteful spending. So you want to watch yourself, right, when you're out and about or you're online buying stuff. But on the flip side, right, with this transit, you can use your possessions to further your soul purpose. Okay, I'm going to buy a new laptop maybe, right? Because I want to work on my website. Right? I want to showcase my offerings. I really want to put myself out there to help now. Or I'm called to buy this online program because it's furthering my soul's development, right? That's totally different. It's not coming from your ego, but it's coming from your spiritual values, right? So in that example, things that you buy, they're not sitting around gathering dust. You're actually using them to further. It's like a healthy relationship with material things, because we do need material things. Like we do live in a material world, but it's just going to the root of why. Why am I buying this, right? So this time is about getting over. This 2 months, this time is about getting over like petty ego problems with your possessions, and that you'll be able to share, right? So it's not getting so possessive about your material possessions because you think it's you. Oh, somebody banged my car. You know those people? You open up your door and it barely hits their car, right? And they freak out. And it's like you just punch them in the face or something. They think it's them. That's that identification, the ego identification with material things, so that you'll be able to share your possessions with others. So watch this out, right? It's just calming out, right? All this false self, so that you can be more yourself. Okay. So let's do an ego card for Gemini. Larissa, are you just a Cancer sun? She's saying bang on 2 hours. Yeah. A lot of people are resonating with what I said about the energy level, eh? You know, we're these powerful creator souls, eternal beings, but we're living these ancient bodies, these animal bodies, right? That they take a while. I'm a Taurus, right? So they take a while the body takes a while to adjust to the new energies. Okay. But a lot of people have been feeling like you guys that I've talked to, like tired and exhausted, including myself. Okay, what do we have for our Gemini friends? What's the ego saying to our Gemini friends? Okay. I don't think I heard that right card. I don't think I heard that right card. And this is the ego gaslighting you, right? So you're getting intuitive hits, right? Maybe about this stuff. Maybe you'll be getting an intuitive hit about, why are you spending this, right? Why are you spending this money? Where is this coming from? And then the ego will be like, you didn't hear that right. Buy it, buy it, buy it. You need it. You deserve it, right? You work so hard. You're such a good person, right? It's just things like that, like examples like that. So I know what I should do, but I allow my ego to talk me out of it, Gemini, right? So the ego's blackmail, because the ego always has blackmail on you if you listen to it. And it's coming from a fear, right? The fear that goes way back to childhood, 0 to 7 years old. There's some fear that you've got to face around values. Maybe you didn't have enough as a child. Maybe you lived in poverty as a child, right? And it's like, I've got to earn, I've got this much money, and you're running, chasing the dollar. But what you're doing is you're running away from this fear that you had as a child that you wouldn't survive, right? The second house is all about survival. It's like basic survival. So we'll bring that up, right? So it's better to face it and confront it head on than actually manifest it on the external where you lose everything, so that you can face this fear. It's like, be proactive and use that Mars energy and face it yourself, right? This fear of not having enough, of not being enough, right? Not being enough. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay. I think we're going to be doing some major healing for these next 2 months. That's what I feel. Okay. So let's go to our good friend Taurus, the bull. And the bull's in the 3rd house, right? Yeah. So this is ego attachment, identification with your thinking, with your, right? The rule's thinking. It's a Gemini house. Of your ideas and your opinions. So over-identified with your thinking. These are my thoughts, my opinions, my ideas. And then in the mundane world, energy's going to be high, right? Zipping around. 3rd house is about zipping around, traveling around, short little trips, right? It's lots of socializing for Taurus. So be aware of arguing and fighting with siblings, brothers or sisters, because 3rd house rules siblings, your neighbors, and just the people that you see every day. So if someone disagrees with you, right, back to this, the ego being identified with your thinking and your ideas and opinions. If someone disagrees with you, right, it seems to the ego that, oh, I'm being threatened, right? The ego will, like, I'm being threatened. Like the person with the 2nd house, right, Gemini with the car. I'm being threatened. Somebody banged my car. Well, disagreeing with me, then I'm being threatened. That's how the ego perceives it. So what you end up doing is you get into these pointless arguments, right? Because you're identified with these beliefs. I've got to defend myself. And meanwhile, you're wasting your energy, right? So if you're a projector, just be really aware of this, right? Right? Somebody's not, I've got to prove myself, especially if you've got an open willpower center, right? If this center right here is open, needing to prove myself, just wasting your energy. So tell yourself that you've got nothing to defend. That person doesn't agree with me, that's okay, right? We can agree to disagree. Right? You've got nothing to defend, and then just choose your battles. Sometimes you do need to defend yourself a little bit, right? With your ideas. Maybe it's part of your work, right? You have this idea in the workplace, and then you have to defend it, right? So, but it's about choosing your battles. Is this really worth my energy and my time, right? Or isn't it? Is it just my ego wanting to assert itself, right? Or using your energy to try to convince someone to see and believe the things that you do, right? But this time, on the positive note, is you're going to be really passionate about communicating your ideas. And it will trigger people in a good way, right? It will trigger people in a good way. That's if you detach. Like, I need that person to agree with me. Then you're coming from your ego. You're not coming from your passion. So even your emails, your texts, your social posts, right? Your videos, they'll be aggressive, especially if you believe that whoever you're communicating with, if you believe that these other people had power over you in the past, because it's the moon, then you'll be extra aggressive. So if you catch yourself getting aggressive, it's showing you that you're not feeling secure in this moment. And it's really about you just feeling secure, being okay with yourself, right? So this is a really good idea to sell an idea if you've had a passionate idea in your head. this is the time to sell the idea to other people. So just don't attack people with your ideas, like detach and just be in your passion. Just be in your passion with your idea, and then people will be drawn to your power then. Otherwise, if you're like focused on them and I need them, right? Your outer reference, I need them to agree with me. You're completely in your ego. They're going to feel attacked, right? So your mental energy in these 2 months and your communication energy and your thinking is going to be on high. It's going to be up here, high. So you want to channel this energy in a positive way through pursuing your soul mission, right? What's your soul purpose, your soul mission? Use it for that, right? Don't let the ego hijack that energy, right? So that's exciting. And meditation, of course, will help calm the mind if the mind is just like spinning out of control. You're going to be used to this, Taurus, because Mars has been in Gemini for so long, right? Since October, and it's been ramping up our thinking. So it's going to be business as usual for you. But really use this to channel, right? Don't be fighting with your siblings and people in your life, trying to get them to think like you do. That's a fool's game. You're not going to win. Okay. So let's do a card for Taurus with the third house. Mars and Cancer in the third house. And if it's fighting with your siblings, like go back to when you were a child and where you listened to, because it's about listening to the third house. Communication is speaking, but it's also listening. That it can bring up anger of not being heard as a child. Okay. What do we got for Taurus? What do we have for Taurus? Our Taurus friends here. Interesting. You got the worthless card. Worthless card. So Gemini had Mars and Cancer in the second house, and that's traditionally the Taurus house, right? Taurus ruled, and that's all about value, your value. So Taurus knows this. If you're a Taurus sun, moon, or rising, then part of your mission on this planet is self-value, right? Is valuing yourself. So worthless, this is the ego saying that you have got no worth. So if we come back to like, well, nobody wants to listen to you and what you have to say with the third house, right? It's going to dig this up. This is like the buried stuff. This ego's been in shadow, right? And it's coming up. It's going to be seen through your emotions. Those, like, the emotions are going to be very, very intense these next 2 months. But you want to go to the root. So it's not that other person that makes me feel like I have no value. They don't value me. That's the ego will say. It's them. You've got to argue and fight with them and show them that you have value, right? It's just feeding this ego. You've got to go to the root. You have to leave that behind, right? You can't see him there, but you got to leave worm tongue behind. And you got to go in through that emotional body. And it's like that, oh, yeah, I remember this feeling. This feeling is an echo from childhood, Taurus, right? Where you weren't heard. You didn't have a voice, right? People didn't value what you had to say in your family. So remember, and then, right, you just feel it. Feel it without the story, and then it moves. The energy starts to move, and then you're on the other side, Taurus, into spirit awareness. So your value, you need to know that your value, your true value, comes from the divine, right? Even if everybody in your life doesn't value you, it doesn't mean that you don't value you, right? That's the problem. If you don't value you, I'm not valuing myself because nobody around me is valuing me. That's the problem, right? So it's knowing that your true value comes from the divine. Do you see how we're moving? Like everything's flipping now for this new age of Aquarius, where everything has to come from inside us first, right? So look at it that the values coming from the divine, right? I'm a child of God. You need to tell yourself that. I was made in God's image. Whatever words you want to use, the divine, right? I'm perfect, right? My essence is perfect. Yes, my human is flawed and this is wrong, that's wrong, according to the ego, but inside it's perfect. There's perfection. My essence is perfection. So you want to get your true value, Taurus, from the divine. And know that you do have something of value to communicate, because it's the third house, right? The third house. But stop looking to the material world and to other people to give you that. People can't give you value. They can't. They can value you up and down and tell you that, oh, I really value what you do and what you give to the world. But unless you value yourself, you won't receive it. It won't get in. It can't get in, right? So you have to value yourself first. Yeah, so you want to go back. What I would say when these intense emotions starts coming up about feeling worthless and having no value, especially around your communication and thinking. Third house is also your childhood, early childhood development. So it's school, early school years. So it could involve a teacher or something like that. Is to go back, ask yourself, put the prayer out. Like, when did all this happen? When? And just let it go. And then the answer will come to you. You'll have some kind of memory. It could be like a memory of what a teacher said when you were in grade 2, right? Some opinion or judgment projected on you that you took on, right? It's about letting go of this false identity that feels worthless, you know? Especially around communication and thinking and learning, right? It's the third house. And your family, with siblings too. Okay. Anything else for the Taurus? Yeah, just the past. All of them are for the past. Okay. So let's go to... Yeah. Yeah. M. Baines, here for clarification. You're spot on about the ego business. Gotcha. It's a daily practice. Yeah. That keeps me aware and definitely needs extra rest. Yeah. Okay, that seems to be a theme for everybody, needing extra rest. Okay. So then we've got Aries. So rising moon or sun. And that's going to be, of course, in the fourth house. So you got double motion because the moon rules your fourth house, Aries. So this is ego identification with the past, right? To your home, right? An identification with your home. Could be around your mother too. The moon represents your mother. So this is going to stir up deep unconscious parts of the mind, because the moon is also your subconscious mind. So it's like your hurt inner. You want to watch this next 2 months, because it will be like your hurt, wounded inner child takes over. So your behavior can be like why, like you'll find yourself like, why did I do that? Why did I behave that way? Well, it's going to show you the inner child took over. Took the wheel, right? You got out of the car seat, and your inner child took over, right? You got in the back seat, and then your inner child's driving, right? So this can make you behave compulsively or act inappropriately. So like saying shocking things, like saying something completely shocking in the middle of a conversation, an adult conversation, and it's an attempt, right, to get attention. This is the child is seeking attention. To just use an example like that, you know? So just to watch yourself and have compassion too, because these unconscious patterns are very, very strong, right? They're strong. So you might find yourself fighting about something in conflict with someone or something, and you just don't understand why. So it's important in these 2 months not to go into automatic pilot. So you've got that, like inner child stuff coming up for sure, and things about your past, and it's you're gonna have lots of energy, especially around your home. So you can get a lot of work done in your home wherever you're living, but you can also be fighting with people in your home, right? So if you've got even a roommate or your family or something, the conflict can come up inside the home. This is the Mars. You got to watch too with accidents at home, like knives and things like that, because Mars rules that, right? And if you refuse to listen to the people that you're fighting with in your home life and keep the peace with them, that will just create even more and more conflict. So it can be, you know, with the identification with the home and the ego, it's like the ego it's like my way or the highway, right? So as soon as you go into that space, it's my home, my rules, you do what I say, that kind of energy, then you're going to get confronted by people. So you're learning to negotiate with other people in your home. So it can be really difficult to live with people now. And especially if you're, you know, if you're living with your parents, right? Living with your mother, right? It's going to be especially difficult, or your mother-in-law, right? Someone like that. There's going to be a lot of conflict coming up. There can be like fighting over land ownership too with Mars in the 4th house. Yeah. But they always go back to the past, right? Always go back to the past. Aries. And Aries is like feisty anyway, right? In reaction, it's like shoot first and ask questions later. That's Aries. So it's really telling you to become more conscious, right, of your emotional reactions, because it's going to be so up in your face. But you want to look at, like, I have to take responsibility. Aries will want this ego, right, pointing. It's them. If they just did what I said, right, there would be peace. And that's not the lesson, right? The lesson is you humbling that ego and then working with people in your home life, right? So this could be with your kids too, right? Okay, where are we here? Up here. With Aries. Okay, what else with that? And go to the inner child, right? What I'm trying to say is any emotional reaction you have, it goes back to that 0 to 7 years old, right? And it's going to go right back to childhood. And all your experience in your adult life is just an echo of that time. It's like, ask yourself, Aries, ask yourself the question, what is this feeling reminding me of? What does this feeling remind me of? Oh, I remember this, feeling powerless as a child, right? I had no power in my family. I had to do what everybody else said, right? I had no boundaries in my family. And now it's bringing this stuff up in my home life now, to not run away from it. Okay, let's go for our Aries friends. And it's going to be mother issues, right? It's 4th house. Okay. So what's the ego trap card for our Aries friend? That one. No. Okay, so it's the, you can see that's the failure card. So the ego has you believe that you're a failure. So this could be something that you're running from. The ego keeps you running from, because the ego can work as a tag team. You've got the ego that like inflate it, and it's my way, and I'm controlling my home environment. People have to do what I say or I throw a tantrum. basically, right? So you got that ego, and then you've got this other ego behind that ego. You can have fragments of the ego, right? And it's running from this belief that you're a failure, right? So it's like I need to be super controlling because I don't want to feel this feeling of being a failure that goes back to your childhood, right? And then this failure, this energetic of failure, comes from your family and your ancestors. And that's interesting too, because the fourth house is like your lineage. It's not just your family of origin, but it represents your lineage, your ancestral lineage. And you avoid going forward in life, right? So what I feel with Aries is you're going to dig up that ego identity that's keeping that down, right? You know, the ball, the beach ball, and you had it in the ocean and you're trying to keep it down, and then the Aquarian age is coming and it's like, no, it's going to pop up, right? These deeper feelings. So you can let this go. You can let go of that controlling ego that wants to control everything in their home life, right? You can let go of this next one, but this one's got to go first, right? The controlling ego. Yeah. So that you can truly be yourself, Aries. And anything else for that for Aries? I think that's it. But it's about you learning to work with people as yourself, like your authentic self. Okay. Okay, so let's go for Pisces. Up here. And Pisces rising, moon or sun. And Saturn is in your first house, Pisces, as a side note. So you got to really learn how to relax. You have to learn about energy too. About going with the flow. And then when to relax. Saturn likes to structure things, so you want structured ways of relaxing for you. With your first house. And then you got Pluto in the 12th house, but that's another video for Pisces. I did a little survey, actually, all my recorded readings to see what because I have everybody's chart that I've done a recorded reading for. And a lot of them, it was like the major percentage of people were Pisces. Pisces rising, Pisces sun. Okay, what do we got for Pisces? Pisces, which makes sense, right? Because they rule spirituality, Pisces, Neptune. Pisces card right here. Okay. So we got the card. And we'll talk about Mars in the 5th. Well, it's just what I was talking about. Okay, so Pisces has Mars in the 5th house. That's right, yeah. Until May 20th. So this is a time where you gotta be yourself, right? With the 5th house. The 5th house is all about self-love. So this is a time when you're going to demand that you be yourself. You're going to demand that you express yourself to others. So you're not going to tolerate within yourself any self-denial, self-censorship, or making sacrifices, or taking a step back to other people. It's like you've got to be yourself. So if you're being yourself already, maybe you're already on it, right? As a Pisces, then you're not going to bring conflict with others. But the trouble's going to come when you're not being yourself and you're not being self-assertive or you're expressing yourself. Then you'll attract this conflict. So what's this conflict, Pisces? It's a manifestation of the conflict that's going on inside you, right? The conflict of like, can I be myself? Or do I have to hold on to this mask, this facade that I've been holding up as the people pleaser and I get along with everybody, right? So the conflict's within you. And if you don't let that facade go and just be your authentic self, then you're going to attract the conflict on the external so that you can see it, right? You can see it in the mirror. Okay, so know that during these 2 months, okay, Michael said, if I have conflict in my life, I'm seeing people fighting around me and I'm fighting with them, it's real, the conflict was within me. As soon as you acknowledge that and confront it, okay, there's a part of me that's afraid to really step into my full self, my authentic self. That conflict will disappear because you won't need it anymore, right? You won't need to see it anymore to integrate that part of yourself. But the great thing, it's the 5th house, right? It's like traditionally ruled by Leo. Leo loves to have the fun, right? Playful and fun. So these energies can be really, really, they don't have to be so heavy, right? Heavy, heavy, heavy. They can be playful and they can be fun, right? So it's like being lighthearted about it. Oh, there's the conflict. It's all about me. I'm just going to take it inside, right? It doesn't have to be this heavy thing with the 5th house, and it won't be. So an excellent outlet for this energy, Mars in Cancer in your 5th house, is sports, if you play any kind of sports, right? Because it brings up competition, but in a light, playful way. This is a good channel for that energy. Or you could use it somewhere else in your life, this, right? This competitive energy, like competing against yourself, right? Right away I'm thinking with just because you got Saturn in the 1st house, it's like, okay, I had a 10-minute nap yesterday. I'm gonna go for 15. I'm gonna go for a 15-minute nap today. Just like fun, playful, competing things like this. So this isn't an ego, the ego cutthroat house, it's not like the 8th house. It's tamed down. It's very, very tamed down. And you're going to desire more romance in your life. So this doesn't necessarily mean like a romantic partner, going out on dates and candlelight dinners and things like that. Expand your definition of romance. And romance is having an emotional connection. I talked about this in another video, right? An emotional connection with things in your life. Maybe your pets, even people, all people, you can have an emotional connection. That's romance. That's what romance is. And Pisces loves that stuff, right? Pisces is yearning for all one at their essence. And if you have children in your life, Pisces, and maybe you don't have biological children, but maybe you have people around you that are childlike. Maybe they're in adult bodies, but often we go into these roles within our relationships, where you feel like more of a brother to somebody, or you feel like I'm somebody's uncle or someone's father. It's not biological, but it's just this role, these roles you get into, where you may have a role with people in your life that are more children. It's like, it brings out the mother in me, or it brings out the father in me, this person. And it's healthy, right? It's not unhealthy. Well, you're going to find that you have some serious conflicts with them, right? Not like serious heavy because it's the 5th house, but they'll just be harder to handle more than usual, these children. So Mars says to use this energy, right? So keep yourself busy, right? Without exhausting yourself. And then keep the children busy too, giving them jobs to do and extra chores and things like that. And to be aware of accidents, right? If you have children, accidents with children. And you'll really not want to do things you don't want to do, right? Because it's the house of enjoyment and pleasure, right? So you're going to find it challenging to get to tasks that you don't find enjoyable. So you want to wait it out, right? If you got some task that you want to clean out your garage or do some, horrible job that nobody likes to do, that you don't like to do, then just put it off until like, okay, I'm going to wait till May 20th. And then Mars will move into your 6th house, and that you'll be supported with your work. Yeah. Okay. And then the card is compensation. And that's what I've been talking about with these other signs. So this is compensation. Like I said, and I forget who I said this about, what sign it is, but you can have these two. Well, I know the failure. Remember the other one was failure. And then on top of that, the controlling, right? This was Aries, actually. Aries. So I feel like a failure. That's what's really going on inside me, like the Aries example. And then on top of this is I'm super controlling and I have everything figured out in my life. It looks like I got it all together. Nothing wrong with me. No flaws here, right? And this is the compensation, but it's not real. It's compensating for this feeling of failure, right? So you make yourself out, oh, look at me, I'm a huge success. And really what's inside is I'm a failure. But both of these are incorrect. I'm a success and I'm a failure. Both are incorrect. But you got to deal with what you're compensating for, right? So this I see because this is all about Pisces, leaving an identity. I have to be me. I can't play this people pleaser role anymore with people. I can't be agreeable with everybody anymore and pretend, right? And pretend that I'm secretly, I don't agree with this person, but I'm putting on the nicey nice face. And yes, the nodding dog. Yeah, I agree with you. Just to go along, we get along. I can't do that anymore. That's the compensation, right? But something is behind it, right? Something is behind it, and that's what you have to face. In fifth house, it could be this playfulness, right? Your own childlike nature of being playful and light and humor, right? It's fun and humorous, right? That's wounded there. So this is the compensation starts, right, from the 0 to 7-year-old, okay? We take on these identities with the 0 to 7-year-old. And basically the message is, and it's not blaming parents, mothers or fathers, they were in the same conditioning field as us. They got conditioned not to be their authentic self. Well, an identity formed, this false identity formed here. And basically the message was, you're not okay as you are, Pisces, right? I'm not going to love you unconditionally. That's all the child wants, is I want to be loved unconditionally. I want to be accepted as myself, right? That's what we all want it. Right? And what happens is you weren't accepted as yourself, your authentic self. You got that message that you're not okay. This part of you is not okay. So what you do is you suppress that down, and then out, boom, an identity gets created from the ego, and it's to compensate for these deeper feelings of not feeling like I'm okay, not feeling loved. But then I create this identity that gets love, right? And maybe that's where the people pleaser comes from, right? For Pisces, because then I got love, but it wasn't really love. It was conditional love. So this is what this fifth house is going to bring up for you. It's going to bring up this false self that you've been compensating with. It's not going to work anymore. It's just going to be tiring. Fifth house is like, no, I can't compensate anymore. It's exhausting me. I just can't do it anymore. You can't play there's no energy there anymore, right? To be inauthentic. Okay? Yeah. What else with the fifth house? The other thing I wanted to say too, if you see somebody out in your life, and you can see this dynamic, because it's really easy to see the shadow in other people, is, oh, I can see that person's compensating. They feel really disingenuous to me right now. Well, you're seeing it in yourself, right? That's what it's showing. The mirror is showing you, where am I compensating? Where am I not being myself? Yeah. But the fifth house is saying to approach it in a playful way. That's what that's saying. Okay. Pisces coming into their power. Okay, where are we now? Aquarius. We're going for Aquarius. Okay. So Aquarius rising moon or sun, it's in the 6th house, yeah. So this is all about working. So this is ego identification with work. So just on the mundane level, Aquarius can throw themselves into work and they can get a lot done. They're going to be supported with the 6th house. So this is healthy for you right now, Aquarius. If you've got lots to do, this is the time to do it. And it's also the house of service. So this is about putting the needs of other people above your own, above the ego, right? Just going into service. It's a typical Virgo house, right? Serving other people. So conflicts can happen when you don't go into that kind of humility. When it's like, if you're in the workplace, I want all the credit, right? Where your ego is not humbled, right? I want all the credit. Give me. I need the kudos. I need everybody thanking me. I need everybody to know that I did this, I did that. Well, then arguments are going to start to happen in the workplace for you, Aquarius, right? So co-workers, bosses, conflict, right? When you do this, it's showing you where that ego is in yourself. Maybe you're not aware of this. Maybe you think that you're humble, but then all of a sudden this is coming. Where's this coming from? Well, it's coming up so that you can see it and integrate it. It's going to come from your past, your childhood, Aquarius. Right? That I wasn't given credit as a child, and now I want credit. That's the ego. And this can happen too with your employees. If you work for yourself, if you're the boss, you'll attract. So don't be looking for credit these 2 months, because you're just going to attract the storm of conflict to show you, no, you're not going to get that from the external, right? So it's best even to take on work that doesn't require others, right? Doesn't require others. This isn't a time to be a team player, Aquarius. So if there's work that requires alone time, that's the best way to deal with this energy. Else it can create health problems too. Mars in the 6th house, so infections, fevers, or accidents. And what's this? Oh, I got in an accident. We have to go back to the frustrated ego energy that wants credit for their work, right? So you want to keep up with your physical activity and your health routines during this time with Mars, right? Okay. Okay, let's do a card for Aquarius. You want to be motivated by service. And helping others, with no expectation of reward. It's a beautiful feeling, you know? Not from I'm a doormat and I'm trying to compensate. Like, look at me, I'm a good person. It's coming from a true place, right? It's coming from your soul. It's an amazing feeling. Oh. Let's see here. So let's do Aquarius for the card. Anyway, a reminder, right? When the ego does come out and you have that strong reaction, why don't people give me credit for what I do? That's your work. Your work is to feel those deeper emotions. That's what wants to come up, right? That's what Mars in Cancer wants to come up. So you can let go of the past. We can't take this past into the Aquarian age, right? Because it's not real. These false identities aren't real. Okay, so where's the ego card for Aquarius friends? That one right there. Oh, the lash out card. Lash out. Right there. Lashing out. So when emotionally triggered, the ego comes out full on, right? In attack mode when emotionally triggered. So these reactive patterns can go deep, right? So lashing out towards others. So if you feel that someone's getting too close, Aquarius likes to have the distance, right? They're the detached, right? They're detached from their emotions. Well, Mars and Cancer are going to show you where your emotions are, Aquarius. You may even surprise yourself, right? Like oh my God, that emotional reaction I had towards that person. Where did that come from? Well, it's coming from deep, deep inside you. It's like a false identity that has to dissolve. Yeah. So watch this. So the ego will either like, I'm going to explode in a rage and anger and frustration at another person when I get triggered, when something pushes that button to release. And remember, it has nothing to do with that other person, Aquarius. Those emotions were inside you long before you met that person. That other person is just a messenger. They're triggering you so that you can release it. That's all, right? So you're either lashing out, I've got to defend myself. That's the enemy. It's coming from out there. It's not coming. It has nothing to do with me. That's what the ego tells you. Or I'm going to give them the silent treatment. I'm going to completely avoid them altogether, right? That's both of those are ego. So what this is saying is to watch this and to take responsibility. Oh, that lash out, that was intense. Like what? I had no idea that was inside me. But I'm so happy that I felt it and I released it, right? I walked through that emotional tunnel. I got to the other side and now I'm free. Right? I'm free from this old identity. I'm free from this energy that's been right driving me and motivating me. Because the ego's sneaky. It doesn't want you. It doesn't want you going through that tunnel. It doesn't want you in your power. It doesn't want you to be authentic. Aquarius. So you're not going to be able to detach from your emotions like you do normally, Aquarius. So just be aware of that. Okay, so let's go for Capricorn. Capricorn rising sun or moon. So this is the 7th house. You have Mars in Cancer in the 7th house. So this is a time of conflict with your partner. People closest to you, but especially your partner. Your intimate one-on-one connections. Right? They're called open enemies, right? The people you're in conflict with. So it will be difficult. You'll find it difficult to compromise, right? Or compromise in healthy ways with Mars and Cancer in the 7th house. And the flip side, maybe in your partnership, you've been the doormat, right? You've compromised way too much. They get their own way. I never get my way, right? Well, this is going to make you more assertive, Capricorn. And things that you've buried in your relationship, in your partnership, right? Like just repressed it. That's not such a big deal. Push it down, push it. All that stuff's going to come up during the Mars and Cancer. And it will come up in the light so that you can work through it as partners, right? Equal partners. So you want to use this energy, this Mars energy, to work on your relationship. So you don't want to try to talk yourself out of it and avoid confrontation, because maybe Capricorn's really good at repression, right? Repressing their emotions. But they're not going to be able to do this with Mars and Cancer in the 7th house, because their partner will be in their face with it. So the thing with the relationships that people need to remember, because often people will say, well, if she wasn't so angry, or if he wasn't so lazy, then everything would be okay, right? If he wasn't so depressed or she wasn't so angry. Well, in a relationship, right, one partner usually expresses for the relationship, There's one, and then there's the entity called the relationship. So to hold that in balance energetically, if one will express the anger, but the anger is within both of you, right? The anger is in the relationship, but usually one partner will express that emotion for the other person. So the ego will blame, well, it's them. They've got the problem. I'm okay. It's like, no, that other person is expressing for your relationship with Capricorn. Right? So confronting, you're not going to be able to avoid confrontation. You're not going to be able to sweep it under the carpet and repress it because your partner will be up in your face, right? Poking you. Okay, I've been expressing the anger, the depression. Now it's time for you to get real. It's time for you to get authentic. And the whole purpose is just to bring, right, the light of awareness to your relationship so it can come to a healthier place. I remember Yogi Bhajan used to say, the master of Kundalini Yoga, that every couple should have a fight. They should have a fight every Sunday, like argue and fight. Because it gets to the truth. It gets to the truth. And I think it's healthy for couples to have arguments and fights, you know, to get to the truth. At least once a week. I'm always suspicious of the couples. They're perfect. We never fight. I never get angry. Right? It's like somebody's repressing in the relationship. Because the relationship is a microcosm for the macrocosm. Are we not seeing conflict out in the world, right? Well, we're going to see it in our relationships too, our personal relationships. How do you think we're going to get rid of war on the planet? Not by peace marches and things like that, by doing our own internal work, our own, right? If we're at war with our partner, conflict with our partner or other relationships, it's going to feed into that greater manifestation, right, out in the world. Okay, so let's do Capricorn. What's the ego telling the Capricorns? What lies are these the ego telling the Capricorns for this Mars? Like that one. Oh. Capricorn's got the heartbreak card. Right there. Okay. This so fits with what I was talking about. This is the ego's putting on the I'm fine face. Everything's okay. Capricorns are very good at repressing their emotions, right? It's the past. I'm over it. Well, Mars in Cancer, Cancer's all about the past. I'm not over it. I've been pretending with my I'm fine face, but it's not going to work anymore. You're going to be shocked, right? These deeper emotions that come surfacing up for you, the intense emotions that are connected to the past, right? So avoiding, what the ego does is avoid emotionally vulnerable people, Capricorn. You may relate to this. Your opposite house is, the seventh house ruled by Cancer. So you're attracted to one another, Capricorn, Cancers. And Cancers are emotional beings, right? So with the ego, it's judging. Why can't they keep it together? Why are they expressing their feelings all the time and their emotions? Because this is what you do to yourself, Capricorn. You're judging your own self. You're judging your own emotions. You're an emotional being too, Capricorn. So this is a refusal to heal a broken heart. And so what comes with this is alcohol, right? I talked about this before, the Capricorn. With drinking alcohol, why we do that is we're trying to soothe the nervous system. The nervous system gets damaged when our heart is broken. It's a real thing. It's a physical thing, right? It needs soothing. The heart needs soothing. So the alcohol, the first time you drink alcohol, it somehow soothes that broken heart, but then you can't continue it on and on and on. So if you have issues around alcohol, Capricorn, I would look at that and to go deeper. This is a time, these 2 months, is to go deeper, to the deeper emotions, right? And then if we want to go deep, deep, to the evolutionary pathway of awareness, to the emotional body, that 0 to 7-year-old that had their heart broken during that age, right? That's where it originally comes from. But now your partner is going to show you that during this Mars transit in Cancer. Yeah. So just watch the mind. Am I judging emotionally vulnerable people? Have I done that in the past? Well, I'm judging myself. We're evolving through the emotional body. Nobody can avoid their emotions during this time. Okay. Anything else? No, that's it for Capricorn. Okay. So let's go for Sagittarius here. And Sagittarius has Mars and Cancer in the 8th house. So this is the ego will create some kind of confrontation in your life. And why? In this placement is so that you can transform. This is a very transformational house, the 8th house. So you'll have an encounter with an already powerful person in your life, or a new one that forces you to change. And where's this coming from? It's coming from inside you, that you're ready for a huge transformation, right? With Mars and Cancer in your 8th house. This is all old, like deep, deep, deep stuff with the 8th house. So it can bring up violence and jealousy and, right? Mars in there, right? Mars is like the ancient ruler of the 8th house, right? Mars, Scorpio. So there can be a lot of conflict with the values that you share with other people. So if you value money, right, objects, inheritance, things like that, there can be conflict over that with other people. And in a marriage, or if you're in a marriage or partnership, you may argue, disagree with how you're spending your money, right? If you have like the joint checking account, joint resources, and then you're spending recklessly, maybe one partner spending recklessly, right? Maybe you're the one more controlling of the money and your partner isn't. There can be lots of fights over that. It's not a good time to get a loan with that. And using sex to build the ego up, right, for power, because it's the house of power. And it's really about a death of an old self that's taking place, but it's old, right? Because it's the moon, right? It's the moon. It's Cancer. So it's the death of an old self rooted in the past, so that a new self can be born, right? So this is like deep, like talk about confrontation, right? Like those kinds of people, and the 8th house people, they're going to force you to change, right? They're going to force you to change. In how because it's all about intimacy too, right? And vulnerability, the 8th house. Are you truly being yourself, right? Sagittarians need to learn this. They're the fakers out of the zodiac. The Sagittarians are the fakers. They like to wear masks. The Queen of Wands, right? They like to wear the masks. And that has to go. So some kind of confrontation will happen in these two months with another person, a powerful person that's going to force you to change. Okay, let's see what Sagittarians got to see here. But an old self is dying. Yeah. Okay. What do we got for Sagittarius? What's the ego telling Sagittarius? What's the ego telling Sagittarius? What's the ego telling this one right here? Okay. You got the tit for tat card. Sagittarius got the tit for tat card. This is the you owe me card. So that fits with the 8th house, doesn't it? So this is the ego keeping score, right? I paid for this bill. You have to pay the equal amount. Everything's got to be equal, tit for tat. That's what how the ego looks at things, right? Keeping score, and it's giving to take. It's the giving to take card. So I'm not truly giving, right? The ego is like, I'm not truly giving. I've got this big rope, right? This big rope that's attached to my giving, right? I've given you all of this, Sagittarius. I've given you all of this money, right? To my partner, objects, gifts, and things like that. And then out comes you owe me, right? I gave you this, and you're like, wait, I thought it was a gift. No, it turns out it wasn't a gift. It wasn't given freely. So it's like, are you keeping score, Sagittarius? That's your ego. Am I keeping score? Is that true love, right? Is that true love? Because 8th house, this is the marriage house. This is the marriage house. And remember, relationships are going through huge transformation for the Aquarian age, right? And it's unconditional love, like truly loving each other unconditionally. This is why we'll be coming together. Not for a tit for tat thing. This is old Piscean marriage, a business arrangement. You do this for me, I do this for you, right? Tick, 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 taking notes, right? Having the ledger, make sure everything's balanced. Yeah. So this is to dig this up. And when I see Sagittarius, because it's the 8th house, this goes back to your, right, lineage. 8th house goes back to your lineage, your ancestors, how things used to be in relationship and marriage, right? The tit for tat. Expecting something back, right? That's not true love at all. Yeah. This is like the gold digger card. So it's going to bring up that ego that's attached to material things, you know, your money and your property and your values. This is going to show you where you don't have shared values with your partner, Sagittarius, right? Your partner maybe not be valuing objects and money as much as you do. It's going to show you where your values are split, you know? Because the values have to be the same to be in a partnership, in a marriage. Yeah. It's good. Because this is such an attachment for the ego, is money. Right? That's the trump card that comes out whenever you're spiritually about to evolve and make a quantum leap and to move into your soul purpose. What does the ego come out with? How are you going to make money from doing that? Right? And that's the one that takes everybody down. Oh yeah, he's right. How am I going to make money from that? There's no trust at all. So Sagittarius is going to dig up that identity that's attached, right, to money, and money from your partner, expecting money. This is such an old paradigm, right? Especially with male-female relationships. He's the breadwinner, and I stay at home. He's supposed to be taking care of me and taking care of all my financial needs. You know, just to throw that out there, like to really dig this stuff out. It's got to all go for the Aquarian age, because tribal consciousness is going, you know. Tribal consciousness is going for this new cross of the sleeping phoenix, and that's the bargain. It's the tit for tat. We're moving into individual and collective consciousness. Tribal's going, right, from our DNA. Okay, anything else for Sagittarius? No, that's it. Okay, Scorpio. The Scorpions. That's in the 9th house. Mars in Cancer in the 9th house. This is about the ego fighting for identified with your beliefs, right? Your beliefs and your worldview. So Scorpios can find out where that ego is attached to your beliefs. And this is the worldview. This is how I see the world. And, right? Nothing's going to change that. My beliefs are like this. And they could be really narrow. Right? Right now we're being called to expand. Maybe your beliefs are being called to expand, but you've got this ego identity of like, this is what the world is like. And these are my beliefs. Right? It's religion. Right? It's the house of religion too. So it's saying that for the next 2 months that you're needing to expand your mind and your belief system, right? So Mars is looking for ways to expand your ideas, right? Expand your ideas during this time. So this is a waste of your energy when you start to get confronted, because you'll get confronted now. Right? And if the ego is in there trying to defend, no, this is it, and you're getting adamant and you're getting aggressive, then you're wasting your energy, right? Your life story. It's all about stories too, and your optimism, right? Maybe you're not as optimistic as you should be. And I understand the world that we've been living in since 2020. It's easy to go down the pessimistic route, Scorpio, focused on the glass is half empty, right? So this is, you're being called to expand that. So as soon as you catch your ego, like, I got to defend this, just like, no, I don't need to defend my beliefs. I'm open right now to expansion, right? This is the transformation sign, is Scorpio, right? Death and rebirth. They're here to continually transform, right? They're the phoenix, right? They're the phoenix. So let's see the card here. And Scorpios can be vicious, defending their beliefs and their worldview. Don't identify. You're not your worldview. You're not your beliefs. The world is changing so fast. We don't know. The world is being revealed. That's what apocalypse means, right? The great reveal. Okay. Let's go for Scorpio. What's that ego telling Scorpio? What's the ego telling our Scorpio friends? That one right there. Okay. Blame. I love this card. This is from, that picture is from Burning Man. See him? It's like he's got a mirror on his face. So blame. So blaming other people. Maybe that's part of your worldview that you got to let go of, right? Is blaming and seeing as soon as you blame, you're seeing yourself as a victim, right? They're the problem out there in the world. And seeing yourself as powerless. That's not you, Scorpio. Scorpio is the sign of power, right? So blame makes us betray ourselves. We betray ourselves when we go into victim and we blame, right? We move away from our true identity, our place of power, right, Scorpio? So blaming the mirror, right? The world is a mirror. It's an emotional mirror. That's all it is. And what you do there, Scorpio, is you're blaming the mirror, right? It's like, you've got a sore or something on your face, and you're in the mirror, and you're like, right? It's the mirror. It's the mirror that's causing this. Right? You fix it by going to yourself. You fix it here. You don't fix the mirror. The mirror is just reflecting. So the world's just reflecting back what we need to heal and what we need to integrate as a humanity. Right? So it's usually unintegrated, right? What we're seeing out in the world is what needs to be integrated. Yeah. So this would fit with your beliefs and your worldview, especially when you're seeing something that's challenging your worldview. It's challenging your worldview. Now this is a good thing, right? So this is a time now, Scorpio, where Mars and Cancer are going to open up your beliefs and your worldview that you inherited when you were a child, right? This all goes back to the 0 to 7-year-olds. That's where all this goes back. And it can affect our perception, right? These stuck emotions in the emotional body or pain body, they can affect how we perceive the world, right? Because we see what we are. Who we are is what we see out in the world. That's how it works. That's the universal law. So you're being called, Scorpio, to crack open your worldview and your optimism coming back, all of that stuff coming back. So this is to watch this, the ego trying to blame the mirror, right? Instead of using the mirror. Oh, I see this out here, so this is what I have to integrate within myself, you know? Microcosm, macrocosm. Okay. Let's go to... Is there anything else for the Scorpions? No. Okay. Libra. The Librians. Well, Libra, it's in your 10th house. It's in your 10th house. And Mars and Cancer transiting there for the next 2 years. This gives you ambition, all right? Lots of ambition to achieve something. So you can really work hard on getting something done during these 2 years. Especially if it requires your individual. Aries is the individual, right? Your individual effort. So try to be independent now if you can. Because you're not going to tolerate any outside authority over you. You're not going to do well with taking orders, Libra. So you prefer to be your own boss during these 2 years. So you can see how this energy can really motivate you if you've been hemming and hawing about, should I leave this job and go out on my own and be self-employed? Well, this energy will fire you up to do that, right? It will give you that confidence. So there can be conflict, Libra, with authority figures during this time, like anyone you perceive as having power over you. So it could be a boss or a supervisor, or your parent, right? Could be a father, 10th house rules father. Little g, the government, that can also be 10th house. And this is like, I gotta win. I'm gonna fight the outside authority, and I've got to win. I've got to get the last word in. I've got to drain my energy. And then you got to go to the root, right? Where is this coming from? Well, it's an echo from the past, from stuck emotions from 0 to 7 years old, where I felt overpowered by my father or my mother, right? Mother or father issues. If we have issues with a supervisor, a landlord, somebody that we perceive as having power over us, it's an echo of an issue that we had with a parent, right? With a father or mother. And this is what needs to be cleared up, right? Is to feel, what are the feelings that are coming up for me where I want to fight with this boss, right? I want to argue with this person. Well, it's that inner child. Right? So there's something underneath the anger. That's the layer cake. And go to my clearing childhood anger meditation. It's really, really powerful if you're feeling this, right? This energy of like, I'm so angry at my boss or my parent as an adult. Well, it echoes back to this. This is the root, right? And then that will get you to the frequency, get you to the vibrational. So, so mother, father issues, that's what I would say there. And to watch that. And let's do a card for Libra. Okay. It's interesting that Cancer rules Libra's 10th house as their career. Nurturing. They make good bosses, actually, Libra rising, sun or moon. They'd have compassion for the people that work for them. So you'd make a good boss. Okay. But But the meditation Libra gets at that energy that is in the jaw area. That's where we hold our childhood anger. Okay. And what do we got for Libra? Tell me what we have for Libra. There's this one right here. Oh, you can't make this up. You got the authority figure. Just to echo the message we're getting here. So this is substituting an authority figure for your parent. This is 10th house right here. Okay? So the adult desire, because this is so Libra, like I got to fit in, right? The people pleasing, Libra, people pleasers because of the relationship sign. The adult desire to fit in, to get ahead, to appear responsible. That's all about, that goes back to childhood, and that was the seeking unconditional love, right? That follows us into adulthood, right? So it's, in truth, this desire to fit in and seem, look, I'm a responsible, I'm a good person, is the desire for the unconditional love that we didn't receive as children, right? So this is substituting an authority figure. So you got conflict with an authority figure. You have to say, that's the substitute for my mother or my father right there. So that it can come up, this anger and frustration can come up, right? Of like not being loved. That can bring up anger in the child, right? Before that identity gets created, there's anger there, right? Yeah. So seeking, what you're seeking is that unconditional love. Okay. Anything else for Libra? Nope. So let's go for the last one, which is Virgo. Virgo. In Virgo, it's in the 11th house. The Mars transiting in Cancer in your 11th house. This is all about you going back to what are your goals and what are your dreams, right? For the 11th house, right? What in your friendships, right? In your friendships. So to reevaluate that. And it's about, you could have conflict with your friends, right? Because it's the 11th house. You can have some conflict with your friends. And this may be showing you that you need to balance, Virgo, your own self-interests and your own goals with the interests of other people. So you have a friend that has a goal and wants to do it this way, and you've got your own goals. Well, don't forego your goals for that other person's goals. Maybe you can come to some kind of middle point with your friends where you can achieve the goals together, right? It could be a win-win for everybody. With the 11th house. And friendships often friends will play a role too, like in our family. Like we'll have a friend that reminds us of our mother, or a friend that reminds us of our father or sibling. It can bring up like unresolved conflict we have with our parent, right? It can be worked out, can be played out through a friend. Watch that. Okay. But Mars in Cancer is like you're working towards something together as a friend, in friendship. Okay, what do we have for Virgo? This one, yeah. Interesting. The spiritual ego card. This is like the big kahuna ego. Right? The big kahuna ego is when that ego hijacks your spiritual journey and has all the language, right? Has all that spiritual language to use against you, but it's really the ego. And the spiritual ego brings down so many spiritual teachers, right? So it's spiritual narcissism, playing the role of a spiritual person as an identity. So maybe this is what's happening in your friendship. Right? Maybe you put a friend up in a pedestal, and they're playing the role of spiritual. They're my spiritual friend. I give all my power over to them, and they tell me, right? They tell me and guide me. And maybe it's not legit. Maybe anger is coming up, right? Maybe some anger is coming up because you're giving your power over to that person. That's why we get angry. We're angry at ourselves for giving our power away. So you have to look at that, or maybe you're on the other end of it too. You're playing more of the spiritual role in your friendships. Is that, am I serving the divine, or am I serving the ego right now? Is that person serving their ego, or are they serving the divine with me? Or over intellectualizing spirituality, that's a sign of spiritual ego too. Like living in the mind, not being in the body, not being in the present moment, talking about spirituality. And really what to do is to look at someone's actions, right? That's how you find, like the fruits. By their fruits you'll know them, right? That's from the Bible. To follow their actions. And then the 11th house, yeah. Okay. I guess the message really with this cross of the sleeping phoenix, Virgo, is about not giving your power away. The cross of planning that we're leaving from 1615 to 2027. It was tribal consciousness, which is about giving your power over, right? So we can even take that into the spiritual realm, right? That's how that got played out. Well, this person knows more than I do. They're the expert of me. I'm gonna give my power over. I'm giving my authority, my agency over to this other person. They know what's best for me. And that's not going to work in the cross of the sleeping phoenix. The universe won't allow it. It just won't allow it. That's why we're seeing so many of these teachers, these old Piscean teachers going down, like falling from grace, Virgo. Right? So it's about God is in the inside. The divine is in the inside. It's always been like that. Right? So now we have to realize that. So I would say, like, to watch this. If you have a friend, someone in your network that you're giving your power over, that they're the spiritual expert of me. They're the spiritual teacher. They know better than me. It's like that's showing you got to take your power back. And Mars in Cancer is going to show you. It will show you, right? Because you'll get some anger will come up, and it's an echo, right, of back to this 0 to 7 year old when you did give your power over, right, to your mother or your father, because you had to, right? And maybe there was some anger there, knowing that the child goes through a period, I remember this myself as a child, where you realize that your parents aren't God and Goddess. You see them as fallible and human, right? So that it can bring up anger in the child, because it's like, who can I count on? I can't count on. Well, if they're not God and they're not Goddess, then, because the true role of the parent is to show you, is to tell you, well, I'm not your God and I'm not your Goddess, but that's God. This is God. What teach you what divinity is. That's Heavenly Father. This is Divine Mother. That's my father and my mother, like it's your mother and your father, right? Your true mother and your true father, right? So there can be anger with that, with the child, because the child knows, right? So it's like we're hoodwinked as children, and this is the giving our power over to that original, giving your power over to the caretakers, right? The parents, because that was our conditioning, right? Our conditioning. So this can bring stuff up. So this is deep, Virgo, right? And it's going to take place in your friendships or the networks, the groups of people you belong to. But this is the root of it. As soon as you get to the root of it, you're not going to give your power over to spiritual teachers. Even if they're like legit, you still won't give their power over. It's like worship, the finger, this true spiritual teachers, the finger pointing at the moon. You don't worship the moon. You don't worship the person in the teacher. You follow what they're pointing to, right? A true spiritual teacher is always pointing you back to yourself, Virgo, right? So the anger is, don't be blaming the friend, that person in your network that you've given your power over, go to the source, right? Which is this 0 to 7-year-old. Okay. Okay. Oh my God, the time flew by so fast. Okay, everybody. So that's everyone, right? Virgo, and then the last one was, we started off with Leo. So enjoy this next 2 months with Mars. And I just want to remind people that my Soul Purpose Activation webinar series, 2 webinars, it's probably going to be 4 hours each, maybe longer. I bumped it, so it's going to start next Sunday, right? And so it's going to be based on your chart, but there's going to be other teachings, and they'll be unique to you. So I'll need your time of birth and your birth information. So you sign up, and then you go to a questionnaire, and then fill that up, and so you'll get unique 2 unique videos and PDFs to you, right? And there'll be meditations, and just to get people moving forward on their soul purpose. And there's a lot of information in the chart that you can glean, but you'll have the experience, right? So the Aquarian age is all, the Piscean age was, I need the information, give me more information, I need it. How do I get it? And we used all our energy to do that as spiritual people. And now it's like, I know. It's not a knowing from the mind, but it's a knowing from your being, right? That everything inside you is there. It's already in there, but you need an experience. So the soul purpose activation is about pointing you to like a major area to look at, to just start to unlock that door for you, and that you can have an experience of this gift, right? That you're here to share with the world. That's the intention anyway. Okay, so visit my website, and also the meditation too, to practice that if you're feeling like overwhelmed by anger, right? If you're waking up at night, it's all part of the energy, and it's all about purifying you, right? Purifying you into your true self. Okay, so have a great day, the rest of the evening, and I'll see you in the next video, which may or may not be on Pluto. We'll see. Okay? Okay, Satnam Aloha, everyone. Bye-bye.